Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2333. Today, part one of a two-part interview with Cole Horton, co-author of the Star Wars book. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So Cole Horton is back. This is the third time he has appeared on the show in 2020, which is awesome. He's a very nice guy. And here is his official bio from the Star Wars book. Cole Horton is the author or co-author of a dozen Star Wars books, including Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, A Traveler's Guide to Batuu. He's contributed to StarWars.com, Marvel.com, and Run Disney. As a brand manager and consumer researcher, he's worked on a number of video games, including Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And this book is definitely a different kind of Star Wars book. I mean, you're probably used to the kind of DK Star Wars book where there's like a little short essay about a topic, and then there's a giant picture and little pictures here and there spread around the picture, and there are captions with factoids and whatnot. No, this book is mostly long-form essays about the different topics within the book. And yeah, there are little sidebar things as well, but no, this is a very cool and in-depth book, and the interview will reflect that as well. So before I get into it, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be. And now, part one of the two-part conversation with Cole Horton, co-author of the Star Wars book. Cole Horton, welcome back to Star Wars 7 by 7. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is now, I believe, the third time you will have appeared on the podcast this year. This is pretty awesome.
See, 2020 isn't all bad after all.
Yeah, there have been some silver linings here and there, haven't there?
Yeah, I'd count this as one of them. It's good to talk to anybody these days. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. And so you are here to talk about the Star Wars book from DK Publishing, which is subtitled Expand Your Knowledge of a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And we were talking before we started recording here about this being also the third book that's come out for you this year, but not necessarily the third book you've written this year.
Yeah, this was the only book I wrote this year. So my other two actually were last calendar year and then just happened to come out this year, making it a busy summer. But yeah, this one I wrote at the very beginning of the year and was sort of quarantining because I was so busy with the book through the months of January and February. And then, of course, March hit. So I've really been quarantining all of 2020. In part because we're trying to get this book done. It was myself, Dan Zehr, Pablo Hidalgo, and we were cranking away at the start of the year on this.
Yeah, and then to be done with your draft of it, obviously revisions coming later, I'm sure, or edits and whatnot, and be ready to go out and enjoy the world, only to have everything shut down.
Yeah, it was, interesting times. It's just, we didn't know it was coming, right? So,
right.
But it's been good. It's been fun to have, multiple books come out this year. And yeah, silver linings, as you say. And this one's been fun, too, to get to finally show it off and kind of celebrate that with Dan and Pablo and the whole crew at DK. It's been nice. It's what we need here in the fall.
Absolutely. And so can you tell me a little bit about how the project got started, how you got involved in it, how DK got you involved in it?
Yeah, I mean, like always, one day you get an email. And between the editorial group at DK and working with the team at Lucasfilm there, they had already come up with the vision for this. It's similar to a series that DK has done on a variety of topics, including the Marvel book, which is sort of similar to this one. And they said, yeah, we're going to do it, and we'd like to bring you on board. And of course I said, absolutely. And from there, we divvy it up, and Dan, Pablo, and we kind of go off and start writing our sections. And the the team at DK, including Matt Jones, who is our editor on this, they turn it into something awesome. It's funny because I write a Word document, right? And I send off a single Word document, and it's ugly and it's just text. And I make some suggestions here and there on images. And on this one, we got to make suggestions on infographics, which is unique. We don't typically get to create new art like that, but for a lot of the topics in the book, we were able to express ideas more visually. And so I make those recommendations, I send it away, and months later, I start to see what it actually looks like, and it's always fun.
And you actually, in mentioning that too, you sort of bring tangentially up a point about DK Publishing and the way that they generally do their books. This one is a little bit different. Usually with a lot of DK books, the content is very blurb driven, if you will, and also very design driven, from my understanding. Previous DK books sometimes have their spreads already laid out and designed, and you have to write within very strict character counts to be able to fill in the information. But this particular book is a lot more of a long form situation.
It is, yeah. Writing it was very different from some of the others. I'd say, this is really an essay-driven book. So we take each topic and we get a lot of space to talk about that and understand its full context across not only the films, but the animated and live action series, video games, comics, all of it, right? Books, and really take all of that, bring it together, put it in one place, and really explore these really important key themes for each topic. And then, of course, there are images. It wouldn't be a DK book without that. And so we have key images there. There's a lot of timelines as well, which in other books I've done, there might be like one timeline just to lay out sort of the key events in the galaxy. But in this case, we were able to do lots of those and really look at the timeline of specific events or organizations or things like that. And then, you throw in the infographics and you really get a nice package that explains in depth, really completely, all the key themes you would need to know.
And so you mentioned the divvying up of the parts of the book between yourself and Dan and Pablo. What parts did you get to work on?
Yeah, I did a lot of the upfront. So the introduction, which was written from an out-of-universe perspective, right? Really the history of this franchise, starting back in 1977. And then I did some of the early overview sort of things, like the galaxy, the part of the book that has the galaxy map in it, things like that, and some of those big picture timelines. I did a lot of technology, which I always do. I think my favorite thing to write about is droids, and so they were nice enough to give me that. And then I ended up doing a number of conflicts as well. So the overview of the Galactic Civil War, the overview of things like that, right? And then in more parts of the book, we go deeper into those topics. But then I was kind of starting and kicking off and setting the scene for what those would be. And then, various characters along the way. They were nice enough to give me the Night Sisters because I really wanted to make sure we had references to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in there, things like that. So it was great because Matt, the editor, either asked us or knows what our strong suits are and made sure we had those. So it was good. Dan did a lot about the Force. And the sort of like mythical religious side of it, which is awesome. And then, of course, Pablo got a number of sections that leaned into his strengths and his really insider knowledge as a member of the story group there at Lucasfilm. And so he was able to cover a lot of those things from like the Rise of Skywalker that might have been very sensitive, or maybe there wasn't a lot of information out there yet. Well, Pablo knew that. And so we were able to give him those things like the Mandalorian, of course, which were incredibly secret. He was able to write that. And so I think we all kind of got to play into our strengths, and it turned out really great.
How does it get decided where the line is drawn? If that's an okay question to ask. Like, for example, knowing that, Pablo would work on stuff with The Rise of Skywalker or with The Mandalorian, and knowing that, as we're recording this, season 2 of The Mandalorian has just started, Is there a line, is there a boundary that you're given as a writer to say you can only write about things that move up to this particular point in storytelling that's been released?
Yeah, I think especially in this case, there really wasn't a hard and fast rule. If it was out there or close to out there, it was all fair game.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some times where we knew we could probably tease about the future as well, and they allowed us to do that. In my case, because of my day job where I work on video games, I knew that Star Wars Squadrons would be announced over the summer, and that Star Wars Squadrons, the video game, would come out here in the fall, and it would actually align almost perfectly with the release of this book. And so I pulled in a lot of information that I knew would be relevant to Squadrons and that story, and made sure they were in there. And then what I had to do in the manuscript was make little notes to the editor, and I'd say, Matt, don't delete this. You don't know what this is yet, but I promise it's going to be important. And they were really good sports about that, because the game hadn't even been announced at all. So I couldn't even tell him, hey, this is a reference to this thing. All I could say was, this will be important in October, I promise.
Oh, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. So if that gives you a little hint as to, of course, how secret some of this stuff can be. And I think we're all kind of used to working in that world, and we know that's just part of working in a shared universe together. Mm-hmm. And no, everybody was really great and understanding, and I, of course, was really happy to get to infuse some of that in the book, and know that would pay off many months down the line. Right.
That's wonderful. And so when you get to work on these sections, obviously things like, for example, your knowledge of Squadrons really comes in handy for the book, and your previous experience and your established love for writing science and technology stuff and writing for droid related sections all established. Are there sections of Star Wars storytelling and within the book where you approach it as, oh, that's something I've always been interested in, but I haven't really gotten to write a lot about it previously. I'd like the opportunity to dive into that.
Trying to think. Yeah, there probably was. I've never really got to play in the galaxy map space. There are experts there. Jason Fry, of course, comes to mind as someone who knows this galaxy map perhaps better than anyone else. And in this case, I was able to do that and really, get to dive in and explain, because we have space, right? We have this long form essay style to accompany the map and timelines and visuals and stuff. And really dive in and think about the character of all of these different parts of the galaxy, and also explain big important themes, like the galaxy is so massive, no one organization can ever truly control all of it, which is a really important theme as you think about what happens after Return of the Jedi, right? There's continued fighting, and then elements of the Empire go off and go hide in parts of the galaxy, and will later reemerge as the First Order and more. That's an important theme there. It's an important theme in The Mandalorian, right? Because you're seeing parts of the galaxy where there is no government, and what that lawlessness does to people's lives. And not to give anything away, it's going to be important in future storytelling as well, as we push towards new publishing stories that are coming in the future. So it was good to be able to have the space to lay out something like that, whereas typically we just put a picture of the map in, and you would use it very utilitarian in style, right? You just want to point to where the key places are. Right. But in this case, we're able to say, no, they're the map and the galaxy and its makeup and its size all explain the war part of Star Wars. And so even something like that's really important. Similarly with I wrote about light speed and hyperspace. And typically you would be given, I don't know, maybe a paragraph to write about something like that. And if you only have a paragraph to write about hyperspace, you of course have to say it goes really fast, right? Like that's
Right.
like that's what you have to get out there first. That's the priority. But in this case, because we have space, you're able to explain things like, because people can now go really fast, they can now go further. And without something like a hyperdrive, something like the Old Republic can't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different spin on it. And I really appreciate the time and space to be able to think about that sort of thing.
Star Wars 7 by 7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7 by 7. We hope you love it.